Good morning, welcome back to Mull. And this morning's message from Mull is be careful that we don't go a bridge too far. And what we're referring to is muscle soreness. They're back. And there's a couple of different types of muscle soreness, and this is something that we may be subject to as we sort of press the restart button on some of the programs that we run. And this week we're experimenting with some live sessions. We did the first live class yesterday, and at the end, as I always do at the end of most sessions in the gym and Move Well, those that aren't accustomed to that type of training or have just started again, I always give a little word of warning in that the following few days that there may be a little bit of residual pain there. If it's a little bit, that's not a bad thing. So a dull ache is okay. But I thought we'd just talk a little bit about muscle soreness today, just so that you're fully aware that is a symptom that you might suffer, and there are obvious ways of making sure it's not too bad. So two different types of muscle soreness really. One is the acute soreness that you will get in muscle tissue, which is often referred to as the burn when you're actually exercising. And this is normally a buildup of lactic acid in the muscle tissue. It's something pretty immediate. It's an acute phase of that discomfort, and it usually resolves itself quite quick once you stop exercising. And that type of burn's not a bad thing. It lets you know that you are doing the work, and that you're pushing your body, you're pushing your muscle tissue to a certain level that will elicit a response, hopefully. And then there's the second type of muscle soreness, which is often referred to as DOMS. You may have heard people saying, "Oh, I've got DOMS, I've got midge." Lots of them. I might pick up and go for a walk in a minute. And DOMS stands for delayed onset muscle soreness, and it's a delayed pain, and it's something that you probably will feel 24 hours to about 72 hours after the actual workout. So it kind of sneaks up and gets you in the long grass, and if you're not expecting it, it can be a bit of a shock. And what DOMS is actually physiologically is little microscopic tears through the muscle tissue that you were working, and the connective tissue around it potentially as well, so ligaments and tendons. So nothing that would create a real significant injury, if you were looking at under a scan, but definitely something that can cause swelling, can cause stiffness, reduced range of motion, and fatigue, and a feeling that you've developed a lack of strength, basically. And it can be a real shock to some people, because they get up the following day sometimes and feel fine, and then it's the day after that it kicks in. And that delayed effect can be a bit of a shock to the system. So it tends to happen when we train muscles in a way that they're not accustomed to. And that can happen to anyone at any level. And perfect example happened to me not long before lockdown. I have trained since I was the age of 10. I've never had a period, a long period without training in my life. And I went and did a Les Mills class at Atlantis one night when I was stuck on the mainland, and it was a body pump class, and it's not something I had done very much of at all. And following day, felt fine. Some of the other sort of colleagues were saying, "Well, how's that?" Following day, could barely walk, and that really brought it home to me. So when we do something that we're not accustomed to, that could be a different technique, it could be a different intensity of training, different type of class, any sort of different type of movement, we're always subject to a bit of muscle soreness. So the key really is that as we reset the button here, and we're coming out of lockdown, and a lot of us are starting to train maybe a way in that we used to. I'm so sorry, I know I'm just constantly pushing these away, but they're all around my face. That we reset very, very gradually, and that we ease back in with baby steps into the type of training that we're doing. So the thing that we always say is listen to your body and try to make sure that you're not pushing yourself too fast and too quick as you make your return, and just ease back into your training program. If you've had a period where either you haven't been training, or a period where perhaps you have been doing quite a bit of walking but not doing a move well class, for example. So the first time you do the move well class and you start to work the body in that way, where you're loading up some of the bigger muscle groups, or working some of the smaller ones with weights. If you haven't been doing that and you've been out walking all the time, then that constitutes a bit of a change of training, and it's likely that you're going to get a little bit of residual pain from that. But as I say, a dull ache is not the end of the world. It does show you that you've worked the muscle tissue and that you'll be getting a response from that. The key is to make sure that it hasn't become debilitating and that you're then taking days to recover, because that's not what we're after. We want regular hits. And if the type of training that you've done has caused you so much debilitation that you cannot move properly and you cannot function properly, then that's a sign that you've been working too hard too quick, and you just need to rein it back a little bit. And things you can do other than lowering the intensity, try to make sure you have a good warm-up and good cool down. Now with us you'll have that. Make sure that you're stretching on a regular basis. If you're going to do these classes yourself in the house, make sure you do warm up. There is a move well class on the website, so if you want to do that outside of the live sessions, there is a warm-up phase there, and there is a cool down phase and stretch phase. So try to make sure you go through the whole thing and don't just do the resistance work without warming up. Stay well hydrated and try to employ some active recovery. So if you are suffering with a bit of pain, the best thing to do is to try and move. As painful as it may be, just a light walk, a light cycle, something like that, just to get some heat into the muscle tissue again and keep it moving, and that will promote recovery and speed up your recovery from that muscle soreness. Try not just to go for the painkillers, especially the sort of non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. They're often referred to as NSAIDs, and that's stuff like ibuprofen and diclofenac, naproxen as well. We're not really sure as to whether that has a great effect on muscle soreness, to be honest with you. And they're not great for your intestinal and digestive tract. They're a bit corrosive, so try not to make that your first port of call. Try to promote a little bit of active recovery, and just give it a little bit of time, and then be aware that the next time you're not going to push it to that level. Whoa, midgies are pushing me to the next level, I'm telling you. And finally, maybe just try a little bit of self-massage. So if you've got some oil in the house, just gently rub, squeeze the muscle tissue that's in pain, and hopefully that will help. I am going to make a move away from here now. Oh wow, it's one of the worst mornings yet. And I will see you on Friday for another message from Mull. In the meantime, make use of today. Looks like it's going to be one of the better days of the week. It's not a great week for the start of the school holidays. As always, stay safe and look out for those live sessions that will be coming up again next week. That's if you're a current client, obviously. So if you're a current client and you're within the first phase of your time with Healthy Options, excuse me, please make sure we have your email so that we can invite you along to those sessions. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.